Hey friends, welcome back to the Guitar Max channel. So in this video, I'm doing a little bit of YouTube channel housekeeping. And what I mean by that is I want to address an issue that just comes up a lot in the comments section of many of my previous guitar videos. And this just has to do with the availability of the guitars that I review. And usually the way this plays out is somebody will be watching a video months or even years after I release that video, and they follow the link down in the video description below to like go check out the guitar or the pedal or whatever, and it's either out of stock or in some cases it's discontinued, and the link they go to just leads nowhere. And so I get these comments saying things like, is that guitar you reviewed even real? Is that just like a one-off guitar and you made a video about it and you can't even really buy it? And they think I'm being dishonest somehow or like misrepresenting the guitar. And I think a great example of this is like the EVH guitars from Firefly, because these guitars came out and they sold out very quickly. And something about the way the Firefly guitar website works, which is guitarsgarden.com, what that company will do is when the guitar sells out, they'll leave the listing up for a little while and it'll just say like sold out. But if they're completely out of stock on the guitar, like they don't have any more in the warehouse that they're going to inspect and release for sale or something like that, when they completely run out of guitars of a particular model, a lot of the time they'll just completely remove the listing off the website. And so if you follow that link to where the guitar was, it'll just be a dead link. And you go there and there's like, there's no listing for that guitar. It doesn't say anything about the guitar, anything like that. And so some people, like, again, using this as an example, weeks after I released that video, they would follow the link that I originally had for the guitar, and they couldn't find anything at all. And then they'd search they'd search on Amazon, and the guitar was never listed on Amazon to begin with. And so, I get these accusations where it's like, you just pulled that guitar out of the air. It doesn't even really exist. You're just making up a video and you can't even really buy that guitar. I think people have become so jaded with clickbait videos where, I can see how people, if they're not familiar with my channel, they'd look at a video and I'm saying like, hey, check out this cool guitar, only $200, go here to get it. And they go there and they find nothing and they think, oh, he just made that up. It was just clickbait. But to be clear, I never do that. So using the Firefly guitars as an example, that really just has to do with the way that they run their website. Like I said, sometimes if a guitar is recently out of stock, it'll have the listing, it'll say out of stock, but after a while they just completely remove the listing. Now another place that this shows up, and this problem happens all the time, is with Amazon, and in some cases eBay, but there's a couple of different problems with this. Depending on where you live, like what country you live in, there will be a different amount of stock available that can be shipped to you on the Amazon website. And so sometimes if somebody in the US is looking at a listing and it says, they've got so many in stock and you can order it right now, at the same time, if somebody from Canada or Europe is looking at that same listing, it'll say not available. And so I've seen people getting in like real-time arguments in the comments section where somebody says, they'll put the date and they say not available. And then somebody leaves a comment right after that and they'll say something like, well, it's available for me, there's no problem. So number one, it has to do with where you live or where you're trying to order the guitar from. The other thing that happens is when a guitar really completely sells out on Amazon, most of the time the listing will stay up and it won't be in stock until the stock is replenished, which in some cases can take like 6 months or even a year. But Amazon won't tell you a time frame for when it's going to be back in stock. It'll just say unavailable, and it might say something like, we don't know when or if this product will be back in stock. A lot of the time it's just a matter of waiting maybe a month or two, and then you can check that same listing and the listing will work again. It will be back in stock. Now eBay is actually even a little bit worse because you've got that problem, but something that's tricky about eBay is sellers can alter the listings on eBay very easily. And one problem I had in the past was I did a review of a Flying V type guitar. It was a very generic Flying V, like a Gibson Flying V knockoff. It didn't even have a logo on the headstock, and it was like $200. This was for sale on eBay. One thing that was cool about it was it had like a nice binding, 2 humbuckers, and it was a set neck guitar. And I did this video review. I had a link to it. People went, they bought all of these, they sold them out. They were out of stock. Well, what the person that owned the listing, what they did was they substituted a bolt-on version of that guitar. So it was similar, but it wasn't a set neck, it was now a bolt-on, and I think they were charging the same price for it. So people were following the original link, which was the only link, going to that and expecting to see a set neck guitar, and then finding a bolt-on one, and then they're looking back at me and they're thinking, oh, I was lying about the specs of the guitar. And in that case, I can't even do anything to stay updated on the link because there's only one link. I just have that same original link there, and it's still a valid link. It's just that the seller has changed the listing, but they're still using the same link. It's very tricky. Okay, so there's 2 more examples of this problem, variations on this problem that I want to talk to you guys about. One of them happened with Reverb. I think most of the time Reverb is pretty good. People seem to have less trouble on Reverb than they do on eBay. But a while back, I did a review for a guitar that was by the brand Three Brothers Guitars. I did this review, and it was a cool, like, purple fade finish. It was a really nice guitar. And this was a new company that was just kind of getting off the ground. And that video did really well. I think that video got over 100,000 views. The problem was, I think they only had like 4 of those guitars. I think they just made a few prototypes, and they're like, this is a test, we're going to see how it goes. We'll send one to Guitar Max, and we'll see what the response is from the audience. So you would think that, wow, with 100,000 views, people thought it was a really cool guitar. I thought it was a great guitar. You'd think they would have followed that up and like, okay, now we're going to do the production guitar. This is going to be great. Let's go forward on this. But they didn't. They just sold like 4 guitars in the beginning, which happened, I think, in the first day, and then it vanished. The brand is completely gone. They never followed it up. This was like 2 years ago. Nothing ever happened. Now, talk about a missed opportunity. I mean, if I had been charging like a big company, knowing that you're going to get 100,000 views of guitar players, I mean, that would have been worth a ton of money to a guitar company. This company got it basically for free, and they did nothing with it. But the big problem with the audience is that because that guitar, they just had a few units and they sold out basically immediately. Almost every single person that wanted to go buy that guitar couldn't buy it, and they were never able to. Okay, now there's one more thing I want to mention. I did a review of this cool green guitar. I've actually got it right here. The Groove Strat with this cool like metallic green finish. And then later on I did another video where I changed the pick guard and everything. But the funny thing about that guitar is it is sold by a Canadian guitar distribution company. But the way they have their sort of contracts for the companies that they work with in Canada, it's a Canadian company, Canadian distributor, they can't sell to people in Canada because they have it worked out so you're supposed to buy that guitar from a retailer, not the distributor, in Canada. But outside of Canada, they can sell it like direct to the customer, okay? And this is, has to do with the agreements they had with the retailers. So I did this video, I'm talking about, hey, it's this cool Canadian brand. And of course, all the Canadian people are like, oh, awesome, let's check this out. And then they couldn't buy it. And they're like, wait a minute, it's a Canadian brand. I can't even buy it, and I'm in Canada. So that pissed off a lot of people. Now, on top of that, later on, the company, the manufacturer did a new batch of those guitars because they were selling really well. They're like, let's make a bunch more of them. But when they made the new batch of the guitar, the color green didn't quite match the old one. And again, they had to change the listing to reflect the new color. And so people would go to that same listing. There's no other listing. You can't get the exact original color anymore because that was like the original batch. So people would follow that listing. They'd go to it, and it's like, wait a minute, that's a different color. So same thing. Everybody gets mad at me. Like, Max, you know, you're BSing us about the color of this guitar. It's not really that cool. So guys, just to be clear, I mean, I want to make this video, and unfortunately, a lot of the people that are mad about this, they may never see this video, and they won't even know about this. But I guess this is just to help me feel better. But to be clear, I always try to be as straightforward as I can with the availability of the guitars. And often I say things in the video like, you know, there's a link down in the video description. I'll keep that updated if I can. But keep in mind, if you're watching this video in the distant future, something might have changed. Sometimes I include that in videos. Maybe I have to include that every single time. I don't know. But guys, I do the best I can. At this point, I have over 700 videos. So it is difficult for me to maintain all of those old links in addition to all the new stuff I'm doing. So I do my best. Sometimes I don't get it right, but I hope this video helps explain some of the frustration and confusion that people will have when it comes to trying to get some of the guitars that I talk about in my videos. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that, or I hope it was educational or interesting to you. I hope it explained everything. Thanks a ton for watching, guys. Of course, as always, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.